What is going on? This is Benzy's Bit, episode number 8, the Ocho. Welcome in. It's a pretty special episode. Not only is it the Sleepers edition, so you're gonna get all my sleepers for this year's PPR draft, but also it's the Rona edition. Yeah, you heard it right. The Rona, COVID-19. That's this edition. What I mean by that is your boy, Twist Benz, came down with coronavirus. Yeah, I'm quarantined. I've been quarantined since middle of last week, sitting here in a one-bedroom apartment, drinking way too much coffee, watching way too much sports. When it comes to like sports and news over and over and over again, watching movies that I haven't seen, have seen, just running the gauntlet here, people, of what it is like to be actually forced to be quarantined. Now, a little backstory here. I am an essential employee, so I've been out and about during this whole pandemic. I didn't really have the choice to stay in. And now for me to be staying in, I am losing it a little bit, but also just trying to be grateful for my health and what I have during this whole virus. You know, right now it's basically a lot of congestion going on, a lot in the chest and in the face. But other than that, breathing as well. I have been graced with some amazing friends and family who have taken care of me, dropping off things through a window with no screen on it when it comes to groceries, meals, and things like that. So extremely blessed to be okay and just to get through this, because that's what we do. So once again, my name is Matthew Benz. This is Benzy's Bit, episode number 8, the Sleepers edition. We're going to go through sleepers. We're going to touch on Patty Mahomes. We're going to touch on some other key current events, and then we'll get you on your way. So let's get it started with Benzy's breakdown. Now, my breakdown, once again, is sleepers for this week. So I'm going to touch on my top 5 at each position. Top 5 kind of skewed there, but we'll go with it. So at the QB position, I have number 5 sleeper, Kirk Cousins. Last season was QB number 18, averaged 16.6 points per game. This year so far, his average draft position is 120th overall. I think that's for me personally in drafts, I don't necessarily need the Cadillac or the Ferrari of quarterbacks. Simple as that. There's not a big jump in points per game in a quarterback position, unless you're going to go after like Lamar and hope that he can put up numbers like he did last season, or unless you're going to go after Patty and hope he can stay consistent, which most likely he will. But other than that, I'm not grabbing guys that early. At number 4, I have Jimmy Garoppolo, QB number 14 last season, averaged 16.2 points per game. This season, he is an average draft position of 135th. And then we'll drop down. At number 3, Cam Newton. This was a tough one. I feel like he is a sleeper simply because he has Bill Belichick, right? But also, he's going to have a defense that is outstanding. He's going to have veterans on that team. He's going to have an offensive line that has really boosted a lot of Tom Brady's statistics. Let's be honest. They realized in New England that if you have a strong defense and a strong offensive line, you can get role players and you can win championships. That's the way it is. So I have Cam at number 3. His average draft position right now is 188. Basically means that people are swinging on him in the last couple rounds. I do see value in Cam. It's not the value of a rushing quarterback. He will not be a dual threat quarterback. He will be a pocket passer, and he might be able to roll out. But I do think that he will have some weapons that he can utilize. At number 2, a guy that a lot of people are not high on and are very hard on him, Baker Mayfield. Last season, QB 19, averaged 15.6 points per game. Right now this season, he is going the highest among my sleepers, which is an average draft position of 106. I do see Baker being a threat. I mean, he has to. He has to be a threat. He has the swagger. He has the skills. No, he is not Johnny Manziel Jr. I do believe in Baker. I believe this can be his breakout year. That's not to say that the Browns are going to win the bowl, but it definitely can mean that he is going to take a step up. I do not believe he is the equivalent to a Mitch Trubisky. Baker is above him, and he is a franchise quarterback, but he's got to make the smart decisions and just play in his zone and not try to do more than he actually can. My number one sleeper at the quarterback position is going to be Phillip Rivers. Yes, old man Phillip Rivers. Last season, he was QB 15. He averaged 15.9 points per game. Average draft position this season right now currently is 148. So he is available in the late rounds. I love the coaching in Indy. I love the team in Indy. I like the weapons in Indy. And I know that it's not going to revolve around him. They have a running game that they can do it, but that should open up the passing game. Ty is going to be huge for him. I think if you look at Keenan Allen's numbers with the Chargers with Phillip Rivers, Phillip is all about his wide receiver one. He is going to get him the biscuit. So Phillip Rivers is my number one sleeper at the quarterback position this season. Don't be shy to grab him in late rounds. Don't rush a quarterback this season. Unless you can get Patty in the third round. Pull the trigger. All right, let's go into the running back position. At number 5, I have James Conner. Last season, RB 35. He is average draft position this year of 42nd. The big thing with James Conner is realizing that if he has Big Ben, he is a top 20 running back for sure. And I do believe last season he was so dinged up. That whole team was so dinged up. I feel like every game last season, James Conner was questionable. So that's going to be a huge thing if he can bounce back health-wise, which he has a track record of doing so. I mean, dude's beat plenty of medical issues. So James Conner at number 5. At number 4, I have Ronald Jones. Yuck. I know. Ronald Jones. What are you thinking, Benzy? Just put him on. Put him on the sleepers, all right? With a guy like Tom Brady, you have to be able to perform better than you ever have without a guy like Tom Brady. Fair enough. I think Ronald Jones is going to be a great value, especially right now. He's going right around the end of the starting quarterback tiers, which is 96th in the average draft position. So I have plenty of faith and value that if I want to grab a running back later in the draft, before all the backups start going, he's going to be one of the last guys to go, and the value's there. You never know. The big thing with Ronald Jones is to realize if he has a gap and he busts through, he's gone. But if he's going to have to go against a defender, he's tackled. He's soft in that aspect. He has explosive speed, but if he's touched, he's down. So we'll see. We'll see if Tom Brady can really mold him. But that's my number 4 sleeper. At number 3, I have Miles Sanders. I think I'm very high on Miles Sanders this year. I'm very high on the next 3 guys, obviously. They're my top 3 sleepers, but I have been grabbing them in a lot of mock drafts. Miles Sanders last season was RB 15, started out very slow, ended up finishing pretty strong. He's an average draft position of 20 overall, so that's going to be my highest sleeper in any of these. But I do believe he is going to get a lot more work this year. I think Doug Peterson will definitely realize he doesn't need a 3-headed monster or even a dual backfield. He can roll with Miles, pound it, pass it. He's the dual threat back. At number 2, Le'Veon Bell, RB 16 last season, just behind Miles Sanders. He is average going in number 41st. The 41st position this season so far in average drafts. That's nuts. Le'Veon is another back that is the starter. He will be the starter. As long as he is healthy, he is the starter. That's too much value, especially for a team that might turn the corner offensively this season. Too much value not to take him in, let's say, the 3rd round. I'll definitely roll with him as my RB2 on my team and see how it goes from there. My number one sleeper at the running back position is going to be David Montgomery. Now, I'm an NFC North guy. I'm a Vikings guy, but I feel there's too much there as well for David Montgomery. Last season, he didn't bust out, obviously, as a rookie. There was a lot of hype there, and it didn't happen. But it doesn't always happen the first year. And that's why with a second-year guy that has more knowledge of how the game in the NFL works, I'm going to roll with him as my number one sleeper. His average draft position right now is 50. So that's like fourth tier of running backs, and you're getting a guy that's going to have that much workload. Roll with him, David Montgomery. All right, into the wide receivers. Let's start at number 5 with Allen Lazard. Yes, you heard it. The Lazard King. Green Bay wide receiver. Last season, wide receiver 67. Didn't put up the numbers, but if you watched any Packers games last season, which is unfortunate for you and myself, but you got to see that Aaron Rodgers, when he trusts a wide receiver to catch the ball, he throws them the ball a lot. Aaron Rodgers slings the ball a lot. And I feel like since they didn't make any real progress, besides if you call Funchess progress, besides that, you have Allen Lazard. I feel like Allen Lazard could break out as their wide receiver 2. Funchess, I don't see that happening. Allen Lazard, number 5 sleeper at wide receiver position. At number 4, we have Hunter Renfrow, wide receiver 55 last year, slot receiver for the Las Vegas Raiders. I do like him this season. I feel like he'll get a lot of work regardless if it fits with Carr or Mariota, depending on how that all shakes out. Hunter gets open. Hunter catches the rock. That's my 4 sleeper. At number 3, N'Keal Harry, Patriots wide receiver. He was going to be obsolete with Stidham. And now you have Cam Newton there. I feel like Cam is going to lean towards someone opposite of Edelman. I mean, Edelman's still going to get his looks, but Edelman's falling off. He will fall off. Tom ain't there. The squirrel ain't going to get his nut. Or so they say in the Patriots. They call him the squirrel. So N'Keal Harry, I look for him to get breakout, especially with an average draft position of 163. I was grabbing N'Keal Harry in like the 3rd to final round. Okay, now there's too much value at that pick. Especially you're just taking stabs in the dark at that point. At number 2, DJ Chark, wide receiver 17 last season, average draft position of 55 this year. It's tough for me to put anybody from Jacksonville out there. I had a poll that was talking about Gardner Minshew over Joe Burrow. A lot of people still pick Burrow over Minshew. I think DJ Chark and Minshew have a great chemistry together. And therefore, I do like DJ Chark this season to stay consistent. At number 1, A.J. Brown, man. A.J. Brown, wide receiver 21 last season. And that all came towards the end of the season. I mean, 13.6 points per game. Average draft position right now, 42. Yeah, I like A.J. Brown a lot. I like his yards after the catch. He just blows up. He creates points in fantasy. That's why I like him as a sleeper, especially since he's only going in the 40s of draft positions so far. Tight ends, Tyler Higbee, tight end 8 last season, 10.7 points per game, average draft position of 74. A lot of people are putting eggs in the basket of Tyler Higbee this season simply because he has that option there. You saw Goff and him starting to develop that chemistry. You also see that Brandon Cooks is no longer there. There's too many openings for targets and receptions. Therefore, I do see Higbee's stock rising if you trust in Goff. Number 4, I have Irv Smith Jr., tight end 33 last season, only averaged 4.9 points per game, an average draft position of 209. If you're taking a backup tight end in any leagues this season, I strongly recommend taking Irv Smith Jr. I believe he will make a healthy jump up in tight end rankings. At number 3, I have Noah Fant, tight end number 16, average 16.6 points per game, Average draft position currently of 111th. That's another guy with a lot of his ceiling is very high. All these sleepers are going to have a high ceiling. That's the big thing with these guys. So I do like Noah Fant if Drew Lock can really take a step up with all those targets that they've either drafted or acquired. That's going to be the tough part to see where do these targets go. Number 2, I have Blake Jarwin, tight end 28 last season, taking the full brunt of it now for the Cowboys. If the Cowboys don't acquire David Njoku, they have shown interest. So watch out for that. At number 1, I have Austin Hooper, simply because you're the biggest sleeper now because your average draft position is 113, and that draft position was lower because of David Njoku being on that team with the Browns, and now he's requesting a trade. High value in Austin Hooper. Go get him. So that will do it for Benzy's breakdowns. Now we're going to go into Benzy's baller of the week. Who else would that be than your guy, Patrick Mahomes? The Chiefs and Super Bowl MVP quarterback Patrick Mahomes have reached an agreement on a 10-year contract extension that ties him to Kansas City through 2031. That's what the team announced on Monday. League sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter that the deal is worth $450 million over a 10-year period and could be worth up to, which we found out, over $500 million. That makes Patrick Mahomes the first $500 million contract signing, the richest contract in sports history. But is it really the richest contract moving forward? No, obviously it's not. The cap's going to change constantly and things of that nature. But they got a deal on this guy. And you got to also take into account, the pandemic, things like that. How is that going to pan out? How is it going to work out? Is the cap going to raise or lower? What's going to happen with this season? There's so many what ifs. So Patrick Mahomes decided to get his shit in order, gets a contract in order, and says, all right, I'm good. We can cross bridges when we want to cross bridges, if we want to cross bridges, depending on if Andy Reid stays forever, which he's hoping he does. Are they able to sign? See, that's the big thing that quarterbacks are starting to realize is the quarterback position is an overpaid position. So if you can take less, if you can pull the Tom Brady and still get your money, but also not raising that bar too high and not depleting your team so much, you can fill in other roles. Makes sense? That's how you build legacies. And that's how you don't just think about the money. You think about being the greatest of all time, possibly, right? There's that GOAT, even though there's not enough statistics yet to realize that. But he's thinking about GOAT status. He's not thinking about money that he will never even be able to spend because he's going to have so much of it. So congratulations to Patrick Mahomes. At the bonehead of the week, we'll go into Deshaun Jackson. Imagine Deshaun Jackson being in the news for something idiotic. On his Instagram story feed, Deshaun Jackson featured a quote that he attributed to Hitler that said, "White Jews will blackmail America. They will extort America. Their plan for world domination won't work if the Negroes know who they were." End quote. Holy cow. The Eagles on Tuesday responded by calling Jackson's post offensive, harmful, and absolutely appalling and said the team would take appropriate action. That's from team owner Jeffrey Lurie and general manager Howie Roseman, both whom are Jewish. Oh, man. Just put down the shovel, Deshaun. I don't know what you're shooting at with your tweet on Instagram, whatever you're trying to do. Holy cow. So anyways, he has later came out now and apologized and stated that he does not hate Jews. Well, that's good. Oh, my God. What a bonehead. All right, let's get into the buzz. So for the buzz of the week, we got a bunch of stuff. NFLPA President J.C. Trader at odds with the league over coronavirus plans. He says, and I quote, "We don't want to merely return to work and have the season shut down before we even get started. The NFLPA will do its part to advocate for player safety. We will continue to hold the NFL accountable and demand that the league use data, science, and the recommendations of its own medical experts to make decisions. It has been clear for months that we need to find a way to fit football inside the world of coronavirus. Making decisions outside that lens is both dangerous and irresponsible." Wow. Very well stated, but I'm selfish and I still want football to run as planned, so don't get in the way of it. Wink, wink. All right. Next, Wizards' Bradley Beal announced this morning that he will not play in the NBA restart because of a shoulder injury. They are saying that it's a rotator cuff injury. It has worsened since during the NBA hiatus, and he will no longer come back. Imagine that. A team that is not in contention for the championship pulling their players out. Yeah. On to the next one. Nets won't have Spencer Dinwiddie after positive coronavirus tests. Spencer tweeted, after another positive test yesterday and considering the symptoms, Brooklyn Nets team doctors and I have decided that it would be in the best interest for me and the team that I do not play in Orlando. I will be supporting the guys every step of the way. Hashtag audience of one. Well, it looks like me and Spencer Dinwiddie are Corona brothers. High five to you, brother. All right. Next, Dodgers Mookie Betts fully prepared but has doubts on start of the season. He said, and I quote, "I still have my doubts just based off of what's going on. I'm definitely preparing the same way I'm fully expecting to play, but that doesn't mean there aren't doubts that kind of go on when the facts aren't in front of you." Yeah, we'll definitely see what happens with baseball in every sport. I mean, everything's so up in the air right now. It's so controversial to say, oh, it's going to happen. Oh, it's not. It's one day at a time. It's just what we're out here doing. Last but not least, we're going to go into Benzy's Bite. Now, this is a shout out to Green Bay Greg. If you don't know who Green Bay Greg is, go to www.twistsportstalk.com. That's where you're going to find guys like me, Green Bay Greg, and Mike Reeves. We are the co-hosts of Twist, the Week in Sports Talk. Go there, check out our shows, things of that nature. But shout out to Green Bay Greg. He brought me what is called a panzerata. Now, he didn't bring it to me. His father did, Chief Bauman. And I had never had a panzerata. Panzerota. Now, this is from Jimmy's Grotto Inc. Inc. That's at 314 East Main Street in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Yeah, this stuff came from what Green Bay Greg would call the promised land or God's country. What me and Mike would say is, I can't believe it made it here, that somebody was sober enough to drive from Wisconsin and get me it here in Minnesota. So anyways, I had the Philly cheesesteak panzerata. I gave it 3 stars due to too much mushrooms. It's basically a deep fried calzone. Okay. Lots of cheese, bomb ingredients. I'm not a mushrooms fan, and I ordered the Philly, and I should have known better. So no fault of any of theirs. It was delicious. I highly recommend if you are ever segregated to Wisconsin or punished, you have a punishment where you have to go across the border, go get yourself some Jimmy's Panzerotas, a.k.a. calzone deep fried, and you'll love it for life. All right, guys, that's all I got this week. I'm going to go keep resting, get well, and I will see you next week. Stay blessed.